Good morning, preppers. Back into medical. Now, specifically today, I'm not going to talk about just all kinds of medical stuff, but I'm going to talk about the Israeli dressing. This thing is amazing. But first of all, of course, we have to go into, the disclaimer we need to do. Check this out. I'm no longer a licensed physician, even though I know what I'm talking about. You can't go by me, go by your own doctor, blah, 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 blah. Read through it. There we go. There's illegal stuff. Okay, now instead of just going into the Israeli dressing, which is simply incredible, I'm going to go through kind of introducing you to some of the steps you would do in case somebody does have some profuse bleeding. They're bleeding pretty bad. Obviously, we're not talking about little puncture wounds. We're not talking about little cuts and stuff. He cut himself shaving. No, we're not talking about that. We're talking about some pretty big bleeding. And again, we're not going to specify if it's arterial blood flow versus venous. Don't worry about any of that stuff. I'm going to try to make it so it's as simple as possible. And furthermore, I'm going to actually show you some of the gear that we're going to use for this. Okay, so you can see a whole bunch of random things here. If you've seen the previous videos, I have like tubs of this stuff, but I put some of the essential things we want to have in here, including the Israeli dressing. This thing's cool. Oh, look, a patient. Oh my gosh, are you okay? What happened here?
A shark bit me.
Like a Michigan shark? Yeah, those you find those in the Great Lakes, don't you? Okay, so the first thing you need to do, and here's the thing, guys, we're talking about if there's no other medical attention, there's no doctors, nurses, nothing around, no EMTs, you want to be able to take care of these things on your own. In real life, if this is simply just somebody on the road, you have to ask them for permission. Sir, may I treat you? Because if not, it's actually considered to be assault, even though you're trying to help them. Because what happens if you mess up on that? You'll say, look, they told me to do it. Because the way most states have it, by the way, the law looks at it is it's better to actually have crappy help than no help at all. But either way, ask them, hey, can I help you out? Okay, good. Now, he said yes. Second thing you want to do is put gloves on. I didn't bring any with me. There's no real need for this case for two reasons. Number one, by the way, and again, don't necessarily need to go by this. If you get some kind of nasty contagion, a bloodborne pathogen, and it's dripping on your hands without a glove on, if you don't have any cuts and you don't put your finger in your mouth or something, it's not going to get in your bloodstream. Okay, but as always, a preventative measure, we put gloves on. But secondly, this is my son. I know he hasn't been doing any weird stuff, so I know his blood is not going to have any pathogen, so I'm not going to wear any anyway. But I always advise you, of course, you'll want to wear gloves for these situations, right? Wear some gloves. Okay, so here we are. Look at this. He has a big old gash, and we're not worried about how much blood's coming out. We just want to stop this bleeding. Now, the very first thing you want to use, flat out, if you have it, and again, a lot of these things, if you have them. If you're not, then just do whatever you do have, is some quick clot. I'm not going to rip this open. It's pretty pricey, but it's simply just a little bandage that can be unfolded. You make it the size you want to, rip it off, take it out, and put it right on the cut. This will actually help coagulate some of the cut. And again, if you don't have this, some people use cayenne pepper, some use black pepper. I've heard they work. I've never tried it myself, but we actually have some quick clot, so we'll use that. Secondly, you're going to want something else, like here's a maxi pad if you want to use that. I mean, look, these are actually really inexpensive compared to actually getting some medical dressings. Why not? Or here we actually have like a compressed pad. We'll put that on there. And your first step is, the number one thing you need to do is direct pressure. Direct pressure. Just hold it. Direct pressure. And hopefully that's going to be enough to stop it. And if it is, then you can take one of these bandage rolls and wrap it up and just keep an eye on it. But you know what? In this worst case scenario, this is not how it's going to be. Now, if it keeps bleeding through, you do not want to do this. Take it off and put another one on. That's bad. You don't want to do that because it actually will start doing some coagulation even without the quick clot. But instead, maybe take another pad and put it on top of it to try to absorb it. Now, something else that'll help too, let's pretend the shark did not break his arm. Did the shark break your arm, sir? No.
Yeah.
No. Okay, good. So in that case, you can actually take the whole thing and lift it up. And basically being above his heart, it's going to be more difficult to push the blood and have it squirt out. That's something else that can happen as well, or help out as well. Something else you can do too, by the way, and we'll just do it from here on. If you actually need to do something real quick, like grab something or open something, you could say, hey sir, hold this for me and keep pressure on it. Providing that he doesn't actually have some kind of like altered mental status from losing blood, or the shark also hit him in the head or something, you can actually have them help themselves out. That's nice. But you know what? It's not working. Uh-oh, we're gonna have to go to step 2. Now in bleeding management, there's actually 4 steps total. The first one is direct pressure. Step 2 is what we call pressure points. Pressure points, I will tell you right now, are for medical professionals, period. Basically what's happening is if you actually cut off the blood supply to the area, it can't bleed. Like let's say I actually have a hand cut, watch this. I can actually cut off my blood supply by pressing both these arteries, radial ulnar artery, and if I squeeze my hand, look how pale it is. When I actually let go, it turns red again because I actually have pressure points stopping the blood in my hand. If you know the pressure points in the armpit, the groin, all these different locations, that's fine, use them. But most people don't know, and I'm sure you don't either. So in that case, if you don't know these pressure points, don't even try to get them, just skip step number 2. So step 1 is direct pressure, step 2 is pressure points, step 3. Now in reality there isn't a step 3, but I'm going to use the step 3 on here using Israeli bandage. Really it goes to step 4, which is a tourniquet. But I want to stress, even though I have a tourniquet right here, and this video is not about the tourniquet, but I want to stress to you that you really need to try as many venues to stop the bleeding as you can before the tourniquet. And that's probably my #1 pet peeve with prepper channels is they go, oh, bleeding, tourniquet, and they jump right into the tourniquet. You do not want to use the tourniquet. That's your last resort. Because even when you use the tourniquet, understand if they actually don't get some type of medical attention, like a vascular surgeon, for example, to repair that, they're gonna lose that limb. And if we're in a crap that hits the fan situation, yeah, I get it, you may have to do that. But you're still gonna wanna try step 1, step 2, and I'm gonna go ahead and include step 3, that is really bandaged before that happens. Okay, this is the most incredible piece of equipment you'll ever see in your life. So I am gonna use it and show you how to use it. Rip her open, and look at it. It actually almost looks like just a regular ACE bandage, but it is not. This actually has this little clip here, neat. Keep unfolding it, and look what we have. Whoops. You know, and some of them, by the way, obviously didn't get one of those. They actually have like little threads in there to hold them together. This one didn't have that. But notice it actually has a big pad on here. Now, just like I mentioned before, you do not want to take off the dressing you already have on there. You're just gonna put this right on top of it. All right, sir, how you doing?
Doing good.
Okay, let me take this back. So basically just take this area and put it right across it. That's great. You're gonna take the, I almost put it around the chair. Take it over, make it nice and snug. And then you have this part right here, watch this. Just slip this in. Then you're gonna come back and you're simply just gonna wrap this around a few times. Now, some of the Israeli dressings have actual extra clips, which I'll show you how that works in a minute. But just keep coming around, keep coming around, keep coming around. And now, again, it works like a little ACE wrap or elastic bandage does, and that's fine, but it's more than that. Then once you get it up, watch this. Just take this, clip it on here, then come to the other side, clip it on here, and voila. One of the coolest inventions ever made. Just, it's amazing how well it works. And again, I opened it up. It's no big deal. I'll keep it relatively sterile in case I ever use it, but understand you're probably gonna have some of their bandages underneath it anyway, so I can use it and practice with it. And that's what I always stress, isn't it? Practice, practice, practice. Because if you get one of these, don't be afraid to open it up. Keep it clean, but practice with it a few times. And then what you can do is when the time really comes, you can still use that bandage because you're actually gonna have some 4x4s or maybe some abdominal dressings on top of that anyway. So it's gonna keep your cut clean. Okay, so am I done? No, because in this situation, you're gonna wanna make sure, first of all, it stops bleeding. If it doesn't stop bleeding, we'll talk about this next time, then we're gonna use a tourniquet for that situation. You can still use this to hold dressing and still use a tourniquet too. But you wanna make sure that, well, our objective is to, number 1, stop the bleeding, but number 2, don't stop the blood flow to the rest of that extremity, okay, to his hand, for example. So here he is. Does it feel like it's too tight or anything? You can ask him, do your fingers feel kind of tingly or anything, kind of cold? Okay, that's good. Now, if you actually know how to check a pulse, you can check the pulse to see if it's there. But again, I can't stress this enough. For some reason, people think, even though they've never checked a pulse before, I'll just check a pulse. Don't fall for that. I actually had a situation where I had a lady at a very crowded area have a heart attack. It doesn't happen very often with ladies, but it does happen. In that situation, down she goes on the floor, and I was like, okay. And I've done CPR myself on people probably over 100 times. You know, I'm very well versed in it and checking pulses and such. Anyways, I go up to her and I was like, I'm having chest pain and stuff, and I'm trying to ask her questions and stuff. Then she goes, oh, and fell back on the floor. I can't tell you how many people were in a big circle watching, and it's just me, there's nobody else. And I was like, oh, I think she just coded on me and had a heart attack. So I actually went up to her, found her carotid. I'm not feeling a pulse. I'm a trained physician. I've done this many times. I'm not feeling a pulse. Okay, I guess I can be starting CPR on her. And as she's laying back, you know, a lot of times you rip the shirt open. That's actually was I judging, tried to rip her shirt open to do this in front of these people? Probably not. And just then I was about to start CPR and she goes, "Oh my gosh, that hurts so bad." I'm not kidding you. I know how to check the pulse very well. And in that situation, she had a pulse. She's up talking and walking. But anyway, she didn't have a heart attack. I think it was anxiety when it's all said and done. But in this situation, you want to make sure he has blood flow to his hand. If you put this on too tight, he's not going to have a pulse in his hand. Am I checking it? Yeah, he has a pulse. That's good. But if you don't know how to check for a pulse, you don't have to. Just look at the hand. Is it white? Is it bluish? Is it cold and clammy? Does he need to cut his nails? Yes, he does. But in this situation, watch this. Notice on his finger right here, if I squeeze it and let go, it's white, then it turns red very quickly. In just a matter of like 3 seconds is what we look at. Let's check it again. White, 3 seconds. Good. If it's turning red, that means the blood is actually going through his dressing and going to the fingers. Good job. You actually made it so you stopped the bleeding, but the bleeding's now going to continue to actually keep his hand alive, because that's what we want. We always want our hands to be alive still when we're done. Okay, I hope that helps. And I'm actually trying to write all this stuff out so I can actually have it so you can print this out later too. But something I do have available right now, by the way, is in the description below. You can click on the link. In our store, I actually have a checklist. I know a lot of you have already seen this. And the checklist lists all the different medical things you might want to consider getting for your house, for your bug out bag. It's a nice, concise list. Now, you don't have to get everything on there. Stuff you're familiar with, go for it. But I put $2 on the list. If you can't afford it, I understand. We actually have it so the different videos, you can go back and actually watch the videos where I went through the different medical supplies and just write it down yourself, you know. But the $2 helps our family, and we appreciate that. All right, so anyways, today is about the Israeli dressing and how amazing it is. If you don't have one of these, even if you can't afford the 4-inch and the 6-inch and stuff, just get one. I like to buy things in bulk and have a few, but that's what you should go for, is make sure you have these and add it to your kit because it's essential. But we'll continue with more videos soon and how to actually take care of bleeding management and other medical stuff too. Thanks for watching.